Revealed, Millionaire disguises as a janitor to find his mother for his son. Amazing twist. Shocks. Jack Hollister, at 38, was the kind of guy you'd picture in a yacht, sipping a cocktail, but instead, he was crouched in a school hallway, wearing a blue janitor-esque jumpsuit. Just weeks ago, he had it all: a luxurious home, a beautiful wife who filled their lives with laughter, and his 7-year-old son, Timmy, whose bright eyes danced with the curiosity of youth. But a phone call shattered that illusion. It was the voice of an old family friend, one fraught with concern, revealing the harsh truth: Jack's mother, once a beacon of hope in their town, was now lost to addiction, living on the streets. Timmy, with his innocent enthusiasm, asked about Grandma, and with every "why?" Jack felt a new weight settle on his chest. Determined to save her, Jack had donned the nameless identity of a school janitor, letting go of his expensive suits and polished shoes. It felt strange, but there was no other way. As he mopped the school's corridors, an unexpected reality unfolded around him. He noticed a group of kids huddled together, their laughter puncturing the air, but just a few feet away, a girl wiped away tears as a teacher bent down to console her. This wasn't just a school, it was a microcosm of life's battles. Jack witnessed the struggles of kids battling poverty, bullying, and the shadows of their family histories. Each clip from the mop brought more perspective. He saw how fragile their worlds were. Suddenly, teachers became heroes in his eyes, rising against the tide of despair, bringing hope where none seemed to exist. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Caught between his privileged past and this new world, Jack felt deeply for the stories swirling around him. He felt irritation bubble inside him, an indignation against social injustices he once ignored. In the bustling lunchroom, a veteran teacher's voice rang out, inspiring the kids. "You are more than your circumstances." Jack's heartbeat quickened. Could that line also apply to his mother? Days turned into weeks. Jack was drawing closer in his search. He pieced together her journey, one that revealed hidden sacrifices, and her fall from grace, one he'd long judged from a distance. But just when hope lit a fire in him, he stumbled upon a shocking revelation: his mother had traded everything in for a life he didn't recognize. Finally, he tracked down her last known whereabouts. She stood there, not the lost soul he envisioned, but a woman hardened by despair, yet somehow formidable. In that moment, Jack's breath hitched. Here she was, the woman who had shaped his life, and finally, he was ready to confront everything: the pain, the love, and the hopes for redemption. As emotion filled the air, Jack approached. The weight of unspoken words hung between them, and in his chest, the ember of hope sparked to life. Could he find the courage to bridge the chasm of the past? Would this meeting redefine what family truly meant? The air was thick with possibility as he took a step forward, all while Timmy's adoration of his grandma lingered in his mind. Would they ever be whole again? Jack's heart raced as he drew closer, each step taking him deeper into a realm filled with years of regret, pain, and a flickering hope. The woman before him was not just his mother, she was a testament to a life that had spiraled out of control. Her clothes were ragged, her hair unkempt, yet there was a fire in her eyes that sparked strong memories of the mother he once knew. "Mom." His voice barely broke through the haze of emotion surrounding them. A stranger stood before him, dressed in shadows. But beneath that exterior, Jack still felt the bond, the instinctive love of a son. She looked up, her expression a mix of surprise and guardedness. The world had changed her, just as it had changed him. "Jack." Her voice wavered, a tremor of disbelief threading through each syllable. "Is that really you?" He paused. That small flicker of recognition gave him courage. "Yeah, it's me. I've been looking for you." There was a long silence that filled the space between them, heavy and thick, each moment stretching longer than the last. Around them, life continued to swirl. Children's laughter echoed in the distance, teachers bustling about their day. But here, in this quiet corner of the world, everything fell away. Her gaze dropped, and Jack saw the pain etched in her face, lines of sorrow that told stories of nights spent in anguish, lost in a haze of memories that haunted her. "You shouldn't have come here," she breathed, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "You're so much better off without me." The words stabbed at him, the sharp edges cutting deeper than he had anticipated. "No." He shot back, the urgency spilling from his heart. "You're my mother. You're supposed to be in my life. Timmy wants to know you. We want you back." As if he had struck a match, anger flared in her eyes, hot and blinding. "You think it's that easy? You have no idea what I've done. What I've become." Every fiber of his being screamed at her. "I know you're lost. But please, let me help you find your way back. We can do this together." For a moment, she just stared at him. It was like she was weighing every unspoken question, every possibility hanging in the air, thick as smoke. "Jack," she hesitated, her voice thick with uncertainty. "You see me through this illusion of a mother you want me to be. But I'm not her anymore. I'm just broken." Jack felt the weight of her words settle on him like lead. The urge to shake her, to wake her from whatever nightmare had seized hold of her, nearly overwhelmed him. But beneath the anger and despair, he sensed something else, a flicker of hope. "Mom, maybe you're broken, but you're not beyond fixing. We can work through this. It won't be easy, but you have us." Her eyes glistened. Jack stepped closer, arms reaching out, desperate to bridge that emotional gap. But then, just as quickly, he saw the walls go back up. "What if I can't?" she whispered, fear shadowing her voice. The silence lingered heavily as Jack considered her question. Could he promise her salvation? Would Timmy get the grandma he had dreamt of? "Then I'll be here, right beside you," he replied, his voice steady yet filled with determination. "You have to let me help. You have to choose us." The gulf between them felt insurmountable, yet vulnerability hung thick in the air. For the first time, he could see a crack forming in the walls she had built. Could he break through with just his words? Just then, a child's joyous laughter erupted in the distance, reminding him of everything he fought for. Would she see that light, too? "Mom," he murmured softly. "Will you take the first step?" As he waited for her answer, the uncertainty clung to him like a heavy blanket. Was this the moment that would redefine their lives? The air crackled with potential, and it left Jack trembling at the edge of hope, his soul yearning for a familial bond once broken. Would she grasp it? Would they uncover a way back to each other, or was this yet another dead end? The moment hung in the air, thick with tension and weighty expectations. Jack's heart pounded like a drum, each beat a reminder of the vulnerability they were both exposed to. Every instinct urged him to take another step closer, to reach out and pull her toward him, but doubt clouded her eyes like stormy skies. "Jack," she said again, her voice barely above a whisper. The sound broke through the silence like a fragile thread, fraying at the edges. "What if I never find my way back? What if I'm too far gone?" "No," he insisted, shaking his head. "You're not. You can start here, right now. Just take my hand." Her gaze flickered to the ground, and Jack noted the way her fingers trembled, the fleeting thought of holding on to him seemingly terrifying. He watched as shadows danced across her features, the lines of age and regret etched deeply on her face. "I've hurt so many people, Jack. How can I fix that?" Tears welled in Jack's eyes. He didn't want to see her suffer anymore. "You fix it by starting with us. You can't change the past, but you can change what happens next. We want a chance to love you again. Timmy needs you, Mom. I need you." The words hung in the air like a lifeline. A moment passed, then another. The distant laughter of children began to fade into the background, becoming muted as they stood on the precipice of something monumental. Jack's heart raced, praying she would see what he saw: the chance for renewal, the hope of forgiveness. Jack, she breathed, her resolve waning. I'm scared. What if I hurt you again? What if I fail? Then we'll figure it out together. We'll take it one step at a time. He took a step, reducing the space between them. I'll be here, no matter what. You're not alone in this. Her shaky breath filled the silence. I'm not the mother you remember, and that's okay, he said quickly, eager to diminish her fears. We can create new memories, ones that can heal us both. It's not about what you were, it's about what you choose to be now. For the first time since they started this painful dance, a flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. A glimmered warmth sparked against the coldness of her despair. You really mean that? You want me to try? Yes. I believe in you, he urged, stepping closer still, his earnest plea reflected in his voice. Just say yes, Mom. Just take my hand. The trembling in her hands intensified, but Jack remained steady, open-hearted. Her eyes shimmered with uncertainty as she weighed his words against the crushing weight of her past. But then, under the cover of her ragged hair, Jack noticed a change of resolve mingling with the fear, softening the edges of her apprehensions. After what felt like an eternity, she drew a breath and tentatively raised her arm. In that moment, it felt monumental, as if the shattering of old scars was just within reach. She slowly extended her hand, fingers brushing against his but hesitant to fully commit. Just then, a loud crash from behind startled them. Jack turned, heart sinking at the abrupt intrusion. A young boy careened down the path, his ball flying just past them and hitting a nearby fence with a hard slap. Jack's heart dropped as he realized it was Timmy, the very reason he had come. Dad? Timmy called, his voice bright yet tinged with a child's innocent confusion. Jack looked back at his mother, who was now staring at the little boy in awe. In that instant, it became clear, her chance to break free from the shadows lay not only in Jack's hands but in embracing the love she could offer to her grandson. Mom, Jack urged softly, this is your moment too. Will you take it? The crack of uncertainty lingered, but the path diverged in front of them into fear or hope. Jack could see it on her face. Would she choose love anew? As he awaited her response, the world seemed to fade away, leaving only the promise of their future hanging in the air like an unspoken covenant. In that tense silence, time stretched like a thin rope, ready to snap. Helen's eyes darted between Jack and Timmy, a fierce battle raging inside her. The laughter of children, once cheerful, now felt like a distant echo, beckoning for a decision she had long avoided. Jack could practically feel her hesitation pulsing in the air. Timmy. She finally called out, her voice raw and uncertain. The moment hung there, filled with a fragile hope that Jack could barely contain. Mom. Timmy replied, bounding toward them, ball in hand. His small frame was a stark reminder of the love that lingered in their family, a reminder that could cut through the darkness surrounding Helen. As Timmy reached them, he paused, tilting his head in confusion. To him, the weight of the moment held no meaning. He simply saw his mother, arms hanging limply at her sides, a familiar face yet shrouded in an unfamiliar haze of emotion. Are you crying, Mom? Timmy asked, concern crossing his youthful features. Jack watched as Helen's carefully shielded defenses seemed to crack, tiny fissures allowing light to pour into her heart, just above her trembling lips. No, sweetheart. I'm just happy to see you, she said, her voice shaking but genuine. Really? Because you look like you saw a ghost. He wore a child's earnestness, his bright blue eyes searching hers. I miss you when you're not here. The truth of those words landed heavily. Jack felt the weight of years spent disconnected from each other, and something shifted in Helen. This was more than just a chance for her. It was a chance for Timmy, a chance to finally be the mother he needed her to be. Will you play with me? Timmy's hopeful voice sliced through the thick air, drawing Jack and Helen's focus. It's more fun when you're here. Helen glanced at Jack, a flicker of understanding passing between them. And in that moment, it hit her. She wasn't just battling the shadows of her past, she was standing on the threshold of a new beginning. Swallowing hard, she took a deep breath, and Jack held his breath right alongside her. This was it. The turning point. "Okay, Timmy," she said, her voice steadier. A smile teased the corners of her mouth, one of the first genuine signs of life Jack had seen in her for so long. "Let us play." And as she squatted down to Timmy's level, extending her arms, embracing him with unguarded warmth, it felt like everything the years of pain, the heartache, the regret began to melt away, if only for this moment. Jack's heart surged, a glimmer of hope igniting within him as he stepped closer, joining their moment. "I love you, Mom," Timmy said, clinging tightly. Tears brimmed in Jack's eyes once again. He watched his mother's face transform, confusion giving way to determination as she looked at Timmy. She was finally choosing to step out of the darkness. "I love you too, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice soft and filled with newfound resolve. As they played together a dance of laughter and joy, the world around them faded. This had always been the dream, the wish that had lingered beneath layers of resentment and pain, but just as Jack began to believe they could really begin this journey together, he caught sight of a familiar figure standing under the trees at the edge of the park, a man in an expensive suit, watching them intently. Jack's stomach knotted. Who was he? Why was he here? What could this mean for their fragile moment of healing? The balance they had finally begun to find felt threatened, and he knew he had to protect it. "Mom!" Jack shouted, pulling her attention back. "Stay close." The laughter faded, and the tension returned, heavier this time. What did this stranger want? And could he threaten the fragile peace they had so desperately begun to cultivate? Jack moved closer, casting a wary glance at the stranger in the suit. The man stood still, hands tucked into his pockets, his sharp gaze fixed on Helen and Timmy. Heart pounding, Jack exchanged an anxious look with Helen, who now clutched Timmy's hand tightly. "Who is he?" she whispered, her voice barely rising above the rustle of leaves in the breeze. "I don't know," Jack replied, instinctively stepping between them and the silhouette beneath the trees. "But something doesn't feel right." Timmy, oblivious to the tension, tugged at Helen's arm. "Can we go play?" he asked, his innocent smile flickering in the growing unease. Helen showed a flash of that earlier warmth as she crouched beside her son. "In a minute, honey." Her eyes were fixed on the man, curiosity and worry mingling in her expression. "What do you want?" Jack called, raising his voice to break the tension. The man straightened, and it felt as if the world had paused. "I'm here to talk," he said, his voice smooth but firm. Jack shook his head defiantly. "We don't want to talk to you. You need to leave." The man stepped forward, his expression intense, but there was something oddly familiar about the shape of his jaw, the way he held himself. Jack felt an unsettling recognition. "Please," the man implored. "Just hear me out." Helen's grip on Timmy's hand tightened. "We don't know you." "My name is Theodore," he began, eyes darting between Jack and Helen, "and you may not remember me, but I was important to your family." "Bullshit. You don't know us." Jack snapped, adrenaline coursing through him. The man's words wrapped around Jack's anger like smoke. Theodore took a breath, holding up his hands in a gesture of calm. "I know this might sound crazy, but I'm here because of Timmy and your past." Timmy's big eyes darted between the adults. "Why are you talking about me?" Jack stepped closer, head swimming. This felt like a game of chess where the stakes were far too high. "How do you know Timmy?" Theodore's gaze softened, a flicker of pain etched on his brow. "Because I knew your mother, Helen. I knew her long before you were born." Jack felt Helen's eyes widen, an almost palpable tension swirling in the air. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. "There are things you don't know, things I need to explain. They matter," especially now that I can see you've made a choice. His gaze shifted to Jack, a glance heavy with unspoken thoughts. Jack clenched his fists. You think you can just show up and talk about the past? But you're here, all of you. The choice is key. Theodore took a deep breath. I came to warn you, Helen. The past isn't done with you. Timmy looked up at his mother, eyes wide with confusion and concern, like a ship lost in a storm. Mom, who is he? Helen was on the brink of either retreating into the familiar walls she had built around her heart or tearing them down. Jack could see the inner turmoil reflected on her face. Stay close to me, Timmy, Helen whispered, uncertainty creeping into her voice. Theodore took a step back, sensing the brewing chaos. I only want to help, he said quietly, but Jack could see the conflict in his gaze. Then the echo of laughter from the nearby playground returned to the air, a stark and painful contrast to the moment. What is happening here? Helen murmured, her eyes flitting between Jack and Theodore. A storm was brewing, one that threatened to shatter the fragile peace they had finally begun to build. The past loomed over them like a dark cloud, heavy and impatient. Jack felt his heart race, uncertainty biting at him. Would this stranger drag them back into their old wounds? Or could he actually be the key to healing that hadn't yet fully begun? In that moment, the future hung in delicate balance, the next steps unclear and daunting. Please, tell us what you want, Helen said, her voice firmer now, as if she were reaching for control amidst the chaos stirring within her. Theodore's expression turned serious. He clearly understood the gravity of what he was about to reveal. Every piece of this story needs to come out, starting with the truth about your father, Timmy. The words hung there like a weight, thick with implications that threatened to pull them under. What truths were lurking just beneath the surface? The air felt electric, crackling with tension as Helen blinked in disbelief. My father? What do you know about him? She pressed, her voice trembling but steady. Timmy's attention was riveted, eyes wide like saucers, the innocent clarity of childhood overlaying the creeping shadows of confusion. Theodore took a measured step forward, hands still visible in effort to appear unthreatening. There's so much at stake. Your father, he hesitated, searching for the right words, had secrets, dark secrets that you didn't understand. And they've come back to haunt you. To haunt all of us. Jack felt a rush of anger. Quit dancing around the facts, Theodore. What secrets? What does that even mean? The weight of the words felt heavy upon his chest. He could sense Helen recoiling, pulling back into herself and away from him, inching away from the conversation he desperately wanted to control. Your father was involved in things, Theodore faltered, then lifted his chin. Things that should have stayed buried. But they haven't. They're here, now. His voice bore the urgency of someone who had been waiting a long time to speak these words. Helen's eyes flitted to Jack, searching for reassurance as she wrestled with memories she had long wanted to forget. What could possibly have happened that I don't know? I thought it was all behind us. Her voice wavered, revealing the cracks in her armor. Because you didn't want to remember, Theodore said softly. But the truth is bubbling to the surface. You need to face it. For Timmy's sake. Timmy, feeling the weight of this adult conversation, tugged at his mother's sleeve. Mom, who's my grandpa? Is he bad? Little Timmy's innocent question shattered the stress hanging in the air. Jack knelt down beside him, trying to shield him from this storm. It's complicated, buddy. But I promise, we'll figure it out. Theodore's expression shifted. It isn't a question of figuring it out. It's about confronting it. If you don't, it could very well put Timmy in danger. Jack's heart sank at those words. The notion of danger lurking, just beyond their grasp, twisted something deep inside him. What do you mean? What kind of danger? Theodore turned his gaze, locking eyes with Jack. There are others who know, others who want to find out what he left behind. The only way to protect Timmy is to bring the truth into the light. Helen shook her head, anguish etched across her face. But I thought I'd buried it all. The pain, the secrets, I can't go back to that. It's not about wanting to go back. It's about needing what? Jack cut in sharply, his voice rising with frustration. What is going to happen if we don't? What are you not telling us? Theodore's silence spoke volumes, and within that pause, Jack caught the subtle flicker of conflict behind Theodore's eyes. This was more than just a stranger from the past, he was a compass pointing towards truths that were ready to shift their world yet again. Then, unexpectedly, Timmy piped up once more. Can we just go home and play? I don't want to hear scary things. Helen's heart twisted as she looked down at her son, the warmth of his innocence breaking through the ice barricading her emotions. But could she ignore the storm brewing? I understand, Theodore said quietly, his demeanor softening towards Timmy. But sometimes, confronting the difficult things is what makes us strong. You're stronger than you know. Jack sighed heavily. We don't have time for ambiguity, Theodore. If there is something we need to know to protect Timmy, you need to say it now. No more riddles. As if a spell had been broken, Theodore straightened slightly and took a breath. All right, I'll tell you everything starting with the night your father disappeared. The air became thick with the weight of unspoken memories. Jack felt his pulse quicken, adrenaline flooding his system as uncertainty twisted into dread. Because the truth is, Theodore's voice lowered, barely above a whisper, he didn't just disappear. He left a message, and it's only a matter of time before someone comes looking for it. Here it was, the moment when a simple ordinary life began fracturing under the weight of hidden legacies. Now, the real question remained: how deep did this message go, and how far would it challenge everything they thought they knew? Jack's heart raced as Theodore's words hung heavy in the air. The revelation didn't just land like a stone, it detonated inside him, scattering shards of fear and confusion. Helen's expression morphed from disbelief to a mix of dread and determination. She was fighting a battle within herself, wrestling with memories that had long been buried. Why now? Why say this now? Helen's voice cracked, desperation pinching her features. She looked from Jack to Theodore, both pleading and demanding answers. I need to know the whole story. Don't hold anything back. Timmy, oblivious to the weighty conversation, shifted restlessly. Can we go home now, Mom? He asked, eyes darting around, clearly unsettled by the charged atmosphere. Jack ruffled the boy's hair gently, trying to provide a semblance of calm. Soon, buddy. We just need to figure a few things out first. Theodore took a deep breath, the air crackling with anticipation. It's not just a message. Your father left clues, clues that might uncover a truth all of you deserve to know. Clues. The word echoed like a distant siren, each syllable pulling them deeper into a murky sea of past pain. Jack glanced at Helen. What kind of clues? Theodore stepped a little closer, his voice lowering further. He had a notebook, a journal. I was there the night he disappeared. I saw him writing, but I couldn't stop him from leaving. It was chaos, and in the end, I only found part of it. Fear and resolve coiled together inside Jack. Where is it? Where's the journal? Theodore shook his head. It was lost in the days that followed. But I've been looking, not just for the journal, but for the truth. I thought it was buried, but it keeps resurfacing. Helen clenched her fists. What are you saying? That this journal is the key to everything? To my past? To Timmy's future? Yes, Theodore said, urgency creeping into his tone. If you don't confront what's in there, what he left behind, you are all vulnerable. You have to face the threats that still linger. Jack couldn't help but feel a chill creep down his spine. Vulnerable? The word had a deep resonance now, one he never imagined would touch their family. But who would come after it? After us? The same people who made your father disappear. They're still watching, waiting. They don't want the past to come back and haunt them, just like they didn't want your father to uncover the truth. The color drained from Helen's face. You mean there's someone out there looking for my dad's secrets? For us? Timmy stepped closer to his mom, instinctively seeking her protection. I'm scared, Mom. Jack moved in protectively, wrapping an arm around both Helen and Timmy. We'll protect you, both of you. Don't worry, we're going to figure this out. But the worried glances shared between Helen and Theodore told a different story. There was a whole world of danger lurking just outside their door, a world crawling with shadows and whispers of a past they were now tethered to. As silence settled in, a sudden thought struck Jack. What if we found the journal? Could it tell us who's after us? Theodore hesitated, thoughts visibly racing through his mind. It could. But you'd need to be ready for anything. The truth is seldom easy. You don't know what dark secrets it could unleash. Jack felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him, but the resolve set deep in his bones. We'll do it. We'll find it, together. Helen nodded, a flicker of determination sparking back to life in her eyes. But as she squeezed Timmy tight, her face fell momentarily into shadows. And what if we don't like what we find? Jack's heart clenched at her words. That was the question, wasn't it? What if they unearthed a darkness far worse than they could imagine? Then we deal with it, he replied, trying to match her bravery. Together. Just then, the sharp sound of a door creaking came from the back of the room. Their hearts leaped as they turned, realizing they weren't alone. A figure emerged from the shadows, face hidden but intent, and Jack's chest tightened again with the weight of new fear. Who are you? He demanded. And the figure stepped forward, revealing more than just a face, revealing something that would change everything once again. Jack's blood ran cold as the figure stepped into the stuttering light. It was a woman, her features shadowed but her presence strikingly familiar. The tightness in Jack's chest expanded, dragged by memories that flickered like film frame snippets of a childhood wrapped in affection that felt both comforting and agonizing now. Is it you? He breathed, hardly daring to voice the hope nestled within. The woman raised her hands slightly, palms out, as if to quell their fear. I'm not here to hurt you. Her voice, soft yet charging with urgency, floated over the weighty silence. Still holding on to Timmy, Helen stepped back instinctively. Who are you? She demanded, her voice steadier than Jack expected. Jack felt the warmth of her anxiety, the desperate fight she summoned for their son. I'm someone who knows about the journal and about your father, the woman said quietly, her eyes glinting with unshed tears. My name is Lydia. That name cracked open a floodgate in Jack's mind. Lydia? My father spoke of you. You were close to him. Yes, she said, moving closer. I didn't want to interfere, but after everything that has happened, I can't stay silent anymore. Timmy clung tightly to Helen's leg, his small face peering up at the strange woman. Are you a bad person? No, honey, Lydia replied softly, her gaze warm. I'm here to help you. But Jack couldn't shake off a feeling of eerie recognition. Help us with what, exactly? Lydia took a shakier breath, clearly weighing her words like a precarious balance. There's more to your father's story than he ever let on. The journal has secrets, yes, but it also reveals who was involved in his disappearance. What do you know? Helen asked, a fierce edge stepping into her voice. Why should we trust you? I can prove it, Lydia said, a small plea creeping into her tone. I was with your father the night he disappeared. He was afraid, Helen. He feared for his life and your safety, and he was gathering evidence. I unseen things that night that can explain so much. Jack felt his heart drum louder in his ears. Then, where is the journal? It can't just be lost. It's not lost. Lydia swallowed hard, nodding towards the back window. I have it. But we don't have much time. They're still looking for it for all of you. Jack's mind raced as questions assaulted him. Who was looking? What would happen if they didn't find it? We need to protect Timmy, he urged, his hand tightening around his son. What do we do now? Lydia looked between them, urgency visible in her eyes. We need to leave, but only after you understand everything. The journal isn't just a means to an end, it's a key to uncovering truths you may wish had stayed buried. What do you mean? Jack felt a mixture of dread and anticipation twist in his stomach. I can't tell you everything here, she said, glancing over her shoulder nervously. But trust me when I say that the truth carries a cost. As silence settled once more, the walls of the room felt alive with impending danger. Jack watched Helen's expression transform, resolve warring with fear. And in that moment, the fate of their family loomed like a dark cloud above them. What's the cost? He pressed. What do we risk by knowing? Before Lydia could respond, the creaking of the floorboards echoed too sharply, a warning sound that punctured their tense air. In a flash, Jack's instincts screamed at him. They weren't safe yet. The door swung open with a sudden crash, and Jack's heart dropped as three men stepped through, faces hidden beneath dark hoods. Their demeanor radiated menace. Find the journal, one of them barked, eyes scanning the room. Or else. Jack and Helen instinctively shielded Timmy as the reality of their perilous situation crystallized. With fear clawing at his throat, Jack locked eyes with Lydia. What would they do now? And why did he have the sinking feeling this was just the beginning of something far worse than they had anticipated? Adrenaline surged through Jack as the men moved with predatory precision, eyes glinting with intent. He sensed the urgency of the moment. They needed a plan, and fast. Lydia's expression mirrored his own turmoil, a flicker of fear breaking through her composed demeanor. Run! Jack shouted suddenly, his protective instincts kicking in. He yanked Helen and Timmy toward the far side of the room, their movements frantic, hearts racing together in unison. Lydia hesitated just for a moment, her hand instinctively reaching for Jack's sleeve. We can't just leave the journal. It's our only chance. Then you better come with us. Helen snapped, her voice sharp. The mother bear in her was alive, ready to defend her cubs against whatever threat loomed ahead. As they scrambled out of the doorway, the men were already advancing, stepping through the threshold with a menacing calmness. Jack felt a rush of desperation and heartache, knowing that every step backward could bring potential disaster. Where was their escape? There. Lydia pointed toward a narrow hallway leading deeper into the house. If we can reach the basement door at the end, there's a way out. Timmy whimpered, holding on to Helen tightly as they bolted down the hallway. Jack led the way, fear and determination igniting his muscles as he glanced back, ready to fight if necessary. Suddenly, one of the hooded figures lunged forward, his hand reaching out with unnerving speed. Jack barely dodged, the man's fingers brushing the hem of his shirt. No! Get back! Jack shouted, shoving the man hard. He stumbled, throwing him off balance momentarily. The hallway twisted and turned like a maze. Every floorboard creaked beneath them, and Jack could hear the rush of his own breath mingled with Timmy's soft cries. He squeezed his son's hand tighter, unwilling to let go for even a fleeting second. Keep moving. Lydia urged, her voice echoing through the chaos. We're almost there. Jack's heart pounded like a drum, each beat resonating in his ears. They sprinted into the basement, the air growing thick and stale. Peering into the dim light, he caught glimpses of cobwebs and forgotten memories draped across the walls. But there was no time to waste, he had to focus on the exit. They raced toward a door at the far end, Lydia taking the lead. Behind them, the angry shouts of the men grew louder. Jack turned to catch a glimpse. One of them was now almost on their tail, his boots thundering against the concrete. With a desperate burst of energy, Lydia yanked open the basement door. The cool night air rushed in, forming a barrier between them and the danger behind. Go! Out into the backyard! She urged. Timmy squeezed his eyes shut, his breath hitching in fear. Jack wanted to comfort him, to tell him it would be okay, but the weight of the moment crushed any solace he could offer. He ushered them out into the open, the stars glistening above like distant promises of safety, but just as they reached the threshold, a heavy thud echoed behind them. The door burst open again as the men charged out, urgency mingling with their malice. Their presence darkened the open escape like an approaching storm. "Watch out!" Lydia shouted, pulling Jack and Timmy away just in time. Jack clenched his fists, his heart racing, grounding himself in that moment. What do we do now? He battled against the overwhelming sense of dread. Lydia's face hardened with resolution. Now, we fight for the truth. They want what your father hid. We can't let them take it. Jack took a step forward, sensing victory and fear entwined. The night's fate hung delicately in the balance like a thread threatening to snap. He glanced at his family, ready to dig deep for whatever strength remained. The unknown loomed closer, but the path spiraled ahead, shrouded in shadows, and beneath the layers of confusion, Jack had to wonder, what dark truths awaited them once the storm had settled. Jack's lungs burned as he took in the cool night air. The fresh breeze felt like freedom, but danger loomed still. The men behind them were relentless, shadows chasing light. Jack turned to Lydia, desperation in his eyes. We need a plan. We can't let them find Timmy. He's just a kid. Lydia nodded, her expression fierce. We'll find a way. Somewhere safe. But we can't split up. Stick close. She gestured towards an old shed at the corner of the yard. As they moved, Jack's heart raced. Every crack of a twig felt like a gunshot, signaling their impending doom. Timmy held on to his mother tighter, eyes wide with fear, his small body trembling. Jack dropped to a crouch, meeting Timmy's gaze. Hey, buddy. Remember, we're strong together. Just like superheroes, right? Jack's voice was steady, but deep down, angst swirled like a tornado. Timmy nodded, though his face betrayed uncertainty. With a shaky hand, he clutched a toy police badge hanging from his pocket. Okay. Superheroes. The defiance sparked a flicker of determination in Jack's heart. Rushing to the shed, Jack flung the door open. Inside, the smell of damp wood mixed with rust, evidence of years gone by. In here. Lydia hissed. They all ducked inside, squeezing together in the cramped space, the flickering glow of a flashlight illuminating a dusty old workbench. Dust motes swirled, dancing in the air as silence enveloped them. Through the door slits, they could see shadows moving, the men searching for them. Jack's throat tightened with dread. What do they want, Lydia? Why are they after us? Why now? Lydia's voice turned grave. Because your father discovered something that could endanger them. He was restless, Jack. Desperate to protect you and Helen. I thought he had covered his tracks, but they didn't want to risk it being exposed. They'll stop at nothing. Jack took a deep breath. Then we need the journal. That's the key. His voice was firm, nostrils flaring with determination. We need to make sure Timmy stays safe. Outside, footsteps grew louder, and Jack could hear voices murmur in menace. Go look in the shed. One of the men commanded. His heart drummed wildly. They were coming closer. Lydia, can you find that journal? Jack asked, his voice a whisper. He had to keep his family safe, no matter what. I can try, she affirmed, her eyes narrowing into sharp focus. I know where it is. Let us go. Jack urged, and, with a final glance at Timmy, he felt a surge of protective energy pressing against the walls of his chest. As they emerged with Lydia leading the charge, the group sprinted toward a thicket of trees at the far side of the yard. Jack glanced back, watching as the men began to approach, but their shadows were swallowed by the gathering darkness. Adrenaline coursed through him, and desperation pushed them forward, deeper into the thicket. Stay hidden. Jack instructed, heart racing. They ducked beneath branches, feeling the cool night air envelop them like a cloak. Timmy gasped softly as they crouched down, his small body shaking with fear. Jack squeezed his son's shoulder reassuringly. "We're going to be okay, I promise." Each second felt like an eternity. Finally, Lydia skidded to a halt beside a gnarled tree, bent and ancient. "This is it." The journal was hidden here, right under the roots. She knelt down, shoving aside dirt and leaves with urgency. In the distance, Jack heard the men getting closer. His heart raced as he whipped around, looking for any signs of their pursuit. Would they find them again? Then, after what felt like hours, Lydia dug out a worn leather journal, its edges frayed, yet the binding was intact. "I found it." She gasped in triumph, and for a moment, the world stood still. Holding the journal close, Jack felt the weight of history in his hands. But just as quickly, dread settled in again as he eyed the approaching shadows. "We need to go. Now." They took off again, moving through the trees, Jack leading with purpose, Helen clutching Timmy to her side, protective and fierce. Behind them, the men continued to search, voices raised in frustration. "They can't have gotten far. The journal could be our saving grace," Jack thought, terror glancing off the surface of hope. As they finally breached the tree line, Jack aimed for a nearby road, praying that help would be waiting on the other side. But as they stepped into the open, headlights suddenly flooded their vision, illuminating their path. A car, its engine purring softly, slowly rolled to a stop beside them. The driver's expression was a mix of surprise and concern as the window rolled down. "What is going on? Why are you running?" Jack shrugged off the confusion, heart thudding with hope. "We're in trouble. We need help. Please." The driver's eyes widened as he glanced nervously at the commotion behind them. "Get in. Quick." With urgency propelling him forward, Jack shoved Timmy into the back seat, climbing in beside him, and pulled Helen in just as the men appeared on the road behind them. "Go. Go." Jack urged the driver, who slammed the gas pedal and took off just as one of the men yelled out. They were leaving danger in the dust, tires screeching against asphalt. As they recovered from the adrenaline rush, Jack clutched Timmy tightly against him, feeling the warmth radiate from his son. Safe, for now. It felt surreal. "What is this?" the driver asked, glancing back at them. "What is going on?" With Lydia still clutching the journal like a lifeline, Jack took a deep breath, eyes burning with determination. "We're going to uncover the truth about my family whatever it takes. It won't be easy, but we have to face it together." Timmy's innocent eyes, wide with new wonder, reflected Jack's own emotions back at him. They would fight this battle, but they wouldn't be alone. "Right, Timmy? Together, we're unstoppable." Timmy beamed back at him, a boy of courage wrapped in the love of his family. "Yeah. Superheroes." And as the car sped toward the horizon, Jack felt the fire inside him burn brighter. They would emerge from this darkness. They'd kick down any walls that threatened their unity. This was the beginning of their true fight, the truth as well, with the sun beginning to rise in the distance, illuminating the sky in hues of promise and hope. They left the night behind, they were ready to reclaim their story. But just as they began to breathe easier, Lydia's voice sliced through the air, filling them with sudden urgency. "You all need to know, it's not just the journal. There's something you must understand." Jack's heart dropped. What now? As they braced for the truth that would change everything once again, he knew they faced a journey filled with adversities, but together, they were stronger than any darkness that lurked. "Tell us, Lydia," Jack said, his voice unwavering. "We'll face it together." And as the truth spilled forth, he felt Timmy's hand in his, a small yet mighty reminder of unstoppable hope. This, he realized, was what families were meant to fight for: love, truth, and redemption. Together, they would uncover every secret and reclaim their lives come what may. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories in this transformative journey. This is the moment to show your support, so leave a like now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear from you, so comment your feelings and reactions about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. The truth waits for no one.